New Perek, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Yeah, welcome to our Gemara Shir. It's not Daf, it's not Amud, it's however much we manage, Bezos Hashem, to chap rein in these precious 50 minutes or so, or 45. We are in New Perek, Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Lezer, not Rabbi Lezer the Mila. We Baruch Hashem finished Rabbi Lezer the Mila yesterday. We are up to Rabbi Eliezer, the other one, Toilin. This perek is the 20th perek, 20 out of 24. Rabbi Lezer says, Toilin. This year is the Ilu Nishmas, my father, Rabbi Menachem ben Akiva, for that solo of all the hostages. Bezos Hashem will be home very soon, safe and sound. Alon ben Idit, Besorach Shar Chatufim. Our perek at the beginning of the perek deals with two issues. There are two major issues we're going to deal with today. The first issue is the issue of ohel, of building a construction, not necessarily construction the way we would imagine, not a house, but rather a kli, some kind of utensil, which is also an ohel. Yeah, it's a kind of something that comes as a roof over something else. It's roofing over something. And the other topic is boirer. Two malachas, boine and boirer, B&B, Airbnb. Boine and boirer are both mentioned here in the perek. So let's just go. Yeah, oh, we have another guest over here in Zoom. Okay, very good. Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer Oimer. Rabbi Lezer Oimer toilin is a meshameres b'yom tov. What's meshameres? Before we continue, before we bichlal see what's going on here, we're talking here about the malach of meshamer. What's meshamer? Meshamer means as follows. A person, after he produced already the wine has been manufactured, now he's left with the sediments. Shmorim are the sediments that are in the bottom of the barrel. Now he wants to get the drops of wine which are hidden in those shmorim, in those meshameres, in those sediments, in this layer of sediments. He takes those shmorim and puts them on top of a meshameres, which is really basically like a filter, yeah, like a sifter of, for liquids. The shmorim stay on top, and the drops of wine, they trickle down, they manage to drip and trickle into a chavis, into a barrel or another kli that is under the meshameres. So imagine yourself, you have a meshameres, you have like a big sifter. By the way, the sifter is not something necessarily set. It could be just like a big net, and that net you actually tighten all around the barrel. Right? This is a problem here. You're creating some kind of surface, which is a net on top of the barrel. On top of that, you put, and by the way, I saw in the Rishonim, don't remember, we've seen a lot of stuff here, maybe the Ritva, that the middle of it is a bit bent in. Yes, it's sagging on purpose. So all the shmorim concentrate there. The shmorim are there, and then the wine that's within the shmorim begins to trickle down, and that's what you want. You want to get the wine that's within the shmorim. Says Rabbi Lezer, toilin is a meshameres b'yom tov. If it's yom tov, you're allowed to actually create that meshameres and hang it, meaning place it and tighten it all over the chavis. You're allowed to do that in yom tov. And from some reason, we're not concerned for ohel. This may be ohel. Ohel means any covering that serves the bottom. You're interested in this covering the barrel, right? And it's a top, it's like an awning on top, it's a surface on top, and from some reason, the Gemara will say why, Rabbi Lezer is not concerned, and on Yom Tov, he allows you to do that, not on Shabbos, but on Yom Tov, yes. Okay? V'noisin letluya b'Shabbos. However, to take the actual shmorim, after you already have the meshameres, the sifter is already there. You have the strainer or whatever, yes, strain? And after it's there, on Shabbos, even on Shabbos, let alone on Yom Tov, you're allowed to take the shmorim, place them there, and let it trickle down. Psh, he does not believe this is boirer. Wow. Why not? We're going to see. I will tell you at the end of the Mishnah, he doesn't think it's boirer. The Chachomim Oimrim, there are two issues here. Issue number one, Ein tolin is meshameres b'yom tov. One is not allowed to basically tighten the meshameres and place it on top of the barrel on Yom Tov, for sure not on Shabbos. Shabbos is always, more severe. The en noisin letluya b'Shabbos. On Shabbos, you're not allowed to actually put the shmorim onto the mishomeres, onto the sifter, because that's either boirer or meraked. We're going to see, but it's boirer. It's boirer or another simmer melacha. It's also in Shabbos. You maybe even chayiv chatos. Yeah, it's boirer. You're using a professional sifter. You're putting the shmorim inside. It drips down. That's boirer. That's what Chachamim believe. Have a noisen letluya b'yom tov. Yeah. So now noisen letluya b'yom tov. Yeah. In other words, noisen letluya on yom tov you're allowed to because oichel nefesh. Boirer is sometimes, in certain cases, in most cases actually, boirer is allowed in yom tov or oichel nefesh. That's why it's allowed. So the two b'chloikesim. Chachamim and Rabbi Lezer argue both about boine, about why it's not oil harai. That the Gemara will explain. And also they argue regarding borer. Rabbi Lezer does not think that placing wine on top of the sifter and letting the good stuff trickle down, he doesn't think it's a problem. Why not? So I saw many people say it's not derech brera. Why not? I looked up the Ritva, unser Chaver, Baruch Hashem. The Ritva says what? The Ritva says, quite simple. We're actually learning the Sugya now in Yeshiva, Sugya Boirer, in a different daf. The Ritva says that because you're going to use the wine that comes out of the shmorim, you're going to use it right away for miyad, for immediate use. That's why it's allowed. It's a big chiddush because all the other factors you don't have here. Using a professional kli. When you use a professional kli la'alocha, it's even chiyuv chatas, even if you do it for immediate use. Yes. In borer, we just learned it today. If you don't fulfill any of the three conditions, it's not only also it's chiyuv. Bad news. According to Rabbi Lezer, apparently it's not. So that's quite a simple machlokes. I saw another pshat from other Rishonim brought down in the Hagois of the Ritva, and they say en boirer achar boirer. The main brera was already done when at the time of the creation of the wine, the manufacturing of the wine. That extra brera to just get more of a kvetch, out of the shmorim, that's already like an extra brera that's not considered as brera according to Blazer. According to Rabbanon, it is. 1 second, excuse me. Zog the Gemara. Fragt the Gemara is asking, Hashtar Blazer, Osufi oil arai, lomus finan, the me'aben chatchila shori. According to Rabbi Lezer, as we're going to prove soon, you're not even allowed to add onto oil arai. And here in the Mishnah, you're allowed to create an oil arai. Let us just remember the lingo. We discussed oil arai, in previous prokim around daf kuf chaf hey or so. And what did we say over there? Oil keva, an oil that's permanent, that's there for a week or two, or maybe a few days. The Shaltun says zman rav. An oil that's meant to be for a long time is also the oraisa. When you create some kind of surface on top of your head, on top of your house, on top of the walls, and you leave it there even without tying. But if it's meant to be there for a long time, whatever that means, there's a discussion in today's poskim. That's chiv the oraisa, also the oraisa. Oil arai, which may mean a more provisory, more less permanent, more of a temporary ohel, that is also midarabonon. Yeah, that's also midarabonon. Okay. Now, Rabbi Lezer was even more machmir, as we're going to prove from a different sugya. Rabbi Lezer says that even adding to an existing oil arai, it's double chumrah. It's oil arai, and you're not creating it. You're only adding layers or adding pieces to an oil arai. You are chayav, but osir. And here, all of a sudden, Rabbi Lezer just doesn't care. In our Mishnah, Rabbi Lezer was telling me, you take this whole ganze thing, this strainer, and you mamish tighten it all around. Not even placing it. You're putting it and really, kind of adjusting it, and that's okay. That's allowed. How come? That's a question of Lezer. He seems to be very, volatile, kivyochol, in his attitude towards Olarai. Now the Gemara is coming to explain the question. The Gemara elaborated the question. Mahi, where exactly did you see Rabbi Lezer being machmir in oil arai so much that now it's a Mishnah, and we saw that Mishnah previously. Let me remind us where that was. Kuf chafei on the base. What does it say over there? Karka chalon. Karka chalon means, if you remember, there is a window, not the way you see it, a window which is like a hole in the wall or a hole in the ceiling that's made on purpose, designed that way. It's like a window that does not have a glass pane. Glass used to be very, very expensive, yeah? So now you have a window, either a skylight, Rashi says here, or a side window in the wall. Now, how exactly do you close it? You have a regular piece of wood. That piece of wood is designated to basically sometimes be stuffed there to stuff the window, to close the window, to fill in the space, the gap, and sometimes it's not. You pull it in and out. Says the Mishnah, says Rablezer Oimer, Bisman shekosher v'toli perkikin boy. You only allowed to poikekint lifkok, to close and put in that piece of wood in the window, providing there are two conditions that are met. Kosher, it is tied with a string to the wall, and it's hanging without touching the ground. In other words, yeah, the point is it shouldn't look like you are building a new piece, adding a new piece onto the window. It has to be clear that, like our windows, like our shutters, like our trissim, it has to be part of the window. It doesn't have to be mamish in the window, but it has to be very close. It has to be mamish hanging, not even touching the ground. And then you can see that you're not building a new piece, you're not adding a new piece. It's the same piece that's very close by. If this piece of wood, the pkak, the shutter, is there but is hanging, even if it's hanging but touching the floor, let alone if it's b'chlal not hanging but completely detached, you're not allowed to. So what do you see? There's an isur d'Rabbanan to be, that's oil arai, right? It's not kavod. You're going to remove it tomorrow. It's a window. Tonight you're going to stuff it, and tomorrow you're going to take it out. It's not a kavua thing, and if it's on the floor, just to add a piece of ohel, which is not, which is just temporary, not permanent, is also according to Blazer. Very machmir over there, right? The Chachamim Oimrim, ben koch ben koch perkikin boy. Chachamim say that even there was a big discussion there, if you remember in Kuf Chavav, but the maskana was, according to Chachamim, even if that piece of wood, as long as it's designated for it, so it's not mukta, it's like a professionally looking piece of wood that's meant for that same size, same thing, it's meant for that, even if it's completely detached, it's sitting on the floor 10 meters away from the window, but as long as it's meant for that, it's fine. Chachamim say, what am I doing? It's like closing an opening window. It's something so temporary, it's not a problem. And the Gemara will explain exactly what the Mechlokas is. Let's explain Mechlokas Rablezer and Chachamim. Hakol Moedim. Everyone agrees. Both Rablezer and Chachamim, they both agree. She'enos in oil arai betchila b'yom tov. Ve'en tzarich lomer b'Shabbos. You're for sure not allowed to midarabanan create a temporary oil in Yom Tov, let alone Shabbos. This can happen any day. You should know. Sometimes, yeah, you can put a few boxes, and you put one box on top of a few other boxes. You create a space underneath. It's also, yeah, you play with your kids on Shabbos. You know, sometimes kids play like ohel. You know, like to put a blanket on top of chairs to hide underneath. It's also umbrella. Yeah, umbrella is an issue. Umbrella could also be right, and Lamais umbrella is not allowed. Lo. It's a big question. All these oil are right. Umbrella doesn't have. It's not on walls. So that's a question, but Lamais it's also yeah. So anything, even temporary, you put on any kind of structure, a table. You're allowed to extend the table, but let's say you have a bed frame, just the frame of the bed empty, yeah, some old bed or a bed you want to assemble now, and you place the plank of wood, yeah, on top of the legs of the bed on the frame, oil. You don't want to use the underneath. That's a question already. However, the Gemara does say what I'm saying.
Boina, huh?
What?
Maybe Boina.
It could. I'm talking about boina.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
of course,
right.
oil are is the derivative of bonim.
Yeah, okay.
It's a derivative of bonim. Lo nechleku. So what is the machloikes? Ela lehoisif. Machloikes is about adding to an oil aray. Shablez the oimer en moisifin b'yom tov en tzach lomer b'Shabbos. Rablezer says not only you're not allowed to build oil aray, you can't add an aray addition to a building. Okay, let alone on Shabbos for sure you can't. Yom Tov Koshkin Shabbos. The Chachamim Masifin b'Shabbos v'Tzochlam b'Yom Tov. The Chachamim say you can't build an oil aray. It's only a question of how far did Chachamim go. It's Xero Derabanan. Don't build an oil aray from scratch. We're just putting the awning, putting the ceiling, even aray, lest you come to do the real thing, the keva. But to add the piece of aray to an existing wall, nishkeferlich, that's allowed. But the question is, Rabbi Lezer, what's going on? Over here, Rabbi Lezer, it's the other way around. Chachamim are more or less consistent. Yeah, because Chachamim are okay. Why? Chachamim in our Mishnah say, don't spread that sifter or the net all over the chavis. It's oil arai. Good. Chachamim never said you're allowed to do oil arai. But Rabbi Lezer seems to be inconsistent. Because Rabbi Lezer over here, what's he telling me? Right? Rabbi Lezer says, oh, over here, he completely allows it. And over there, he was machmir even to add. And he's saying allowed to build the whole thing? What's going on, right? Yeah, it's all derivative of Zabona. Yeah. Oil arai is like the Rabbanon of Boine. It's a Rabbanon version. Yeah, arai. Oil keva is an isur dorais of boine. You're right, boine. Oil ara is an isur dorabanon because although it's not the real deal, it's scaringly similar, too close for comfort, and therefore don't do it because Rabbanon tell you don't do it lest you come to do the real thing.
This is all related to our discussion, sorry, with making a sukkah on Shabbos. Remember how we were,
Yes, very nice, very nice. Good. Yes, very nice. I think so. I think it's connected. Yeah. Answers the Gemara. Rabbi Lezer sovalok Rabbi Yehuda. Let's remember, Rabbi Lezer only allows you to do it on Yom Tov, and everybody knows the difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos. Every child knows that very famous Mishnah. By the way, it appears twice in the Mishnah, in Megillah Zayin and in Beit Salamit Vov. The Tanya, it's really, I don't know, it's Tanya because Rabbi Yehuda, it's really Tnan. And ben Yom Tov l'Shabbos eloich nefesh bilvad. The only difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov is that on Yom Tov you're allowed to make oichel nefesh, you're allowed to do malacha for necessary basic needs such as food or washing, whatever things that are necessary, you're allowed to do malacha for. There are about 1.5 million exceptions to that rule, but that's the rule. On Shabbos you can't, let's say, we all know on Shabbos you can't cook. And in Yom Tov, with certain conditions, you are allowed to cook. Let's stay simple. Every Jewish home knows that. What does that have to do with us? Rabbi Yehuda, what's Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda takes it one step further. Rabbi Yehuda matir af mechshir oichel nefesh. Rabbi Yehuda says no, not only allowed to actually cook, you're also allowed to create the spit, the skewer. Yeah, for example. To some extent, we'll see soon, Rabbi Yehuda allows you not only to create the food itself, can create the machshirim. Remember from the previous parak, the preparation, the tools for oichel nefesh, not just the direct action. Yeah, preparing for the preparation, preparing, let's say, the cooking utensils, is also allowed in Yom Tov according to Rabbi Yehuda. Voila, that's a blessing for you. Rabbi Lezer says not only you can do the borer on Yom Tov, and that, by the way, Chachamim also agreed to on Yom Tov, just like I'm allowed to do the borer and sift the wine, filter the wine in Yom Tov, so too I'm allowed to prepare for it by creating the ohel. Okay, fair enough. Brek the Gemara, no, bad news. Ema, the question comes now. Ema the Shemin al Rabbi Yehuda b'machshirin she'i efshar l'asosem erev Yom Tov. Rabbi Yehuda says that the only machshirim Rabbi Yehuda allows to create in Yom Tov are machshirim that for whichever reason you couldn't have done before. Yeah, whatever the example is, let's say there are certain machshirim that you were not able to create before Yom Tov. It has to be done today only. Then Rabbi Lezer allows to do the Rabbi Lezer allowed to create and fashion then. But the machshirim she'efshar l'sosem erev Yom Tov mishom aslei. No, these machshirim, that sifter business, that filter on top of the chavis, give me one good reason why I couldn't do it on erev Yom Tov. You could, and Rabbi Yehuda never allows you to do that. So if Rabbi Lezer wants to kind of join Rabbi Yehuda's team, Rabbi Lezer is not, because Rabbi Yehuda only allows you to create something that you couldn't have done before. That sifter on top of the chavis, what's the big Let's do it erev Yom Tov. Yeah, okay. Answers the Gemara, enochinami. Simple answer. The Rabbi Lezer adif from Rabbi Yehuda, enochinami. Rabbi Lezer is, as today's slang, Rabbi Lezer is like Rabbi Yehuda on steroids, which means Rabbi Eliezer is Rabbi Yehuda adifa plus. Rabbi Yehuda did not allow you, or really allowed you to create machshirei ochel nefesh only if you couldn't do them before. Rabbi Lezer allows you to create machshirei ochel nefesh even if you could make them before. You're allowed to create them on Yom Tov, even if you could have done it before. Very interesting. Rabbi Lezer shares his Lashitosa, I think, right? Not, I don't know, Lashitosa. Rabbi Lezer is kind of consistent because what did we see in the previous Perek, right? Rabbi Lezer says you are allowed to create machshirim for the Milah on Shabbos, even machshirim the machshirim. So too, machshirei oichel Yom Tov, oichel nefesh on Yom Tov, he also allows. Very interesting. Okay. Now Tosfos points out, I don't have time so much to see it inside. The first Tosfos says that the machshirim, the what's her name, that the reason why Chachamim allow you to make that borer or that sifting on Yom Tov is because it wouldn't have been so as strong and as fresh and good had you done it before Yom Tov. And that's always the rule in Yom Tov. You can only grind things that require freshness. But to grind something in Yom Tov you could have done yesterday and it would stay as fresh, you're not allowed to do that in Yom Tov. And therefore wants to say, this must be in this case, the sifting, yeah, it wouldn't be the same gishmak if you kept that wine from yesterday. You want fresh wine. Weiter. Oh, now let's continue to talk about the Machloikis. Let's summarize now what we saw before. Let's summarize. According to Rabbi Eliezer, you're allowed to be toile the mishomeres. Why? Because it's oirich oichel nefesh. It's machshir oichel nefesh, the preparation, the tools for oichel nefesh, which is boirer. Boirer himself, everyone allows. Because it's oichel nefesh. You need it fresh now. Now, Rabbi Eliezer and Chachamim argue. Rabbi Eliezer says to create the necessary tools, devices for the borer is also allowed. And Chachamim say, Rabbi, this is a red line. There we don't hold of. No. Only the Oichel Nefesh itself, not the Machshirim. Okay? I think the Gemara Bailu comes a question, they asked in the Besmedresh, Tolomai, what would be the halacha if the person unfortunately disobeyed Chachamim and he was toilet? He took that sieve, that sifter, that filter, and he did spread it all around. What's the halacha? Is it Aser or is it Chayev? What's the level of Isser they believe in? Is it the Oraisa or the Rabbanon? How far did Chachamim go? Amar Yosef, Tol Chayev Chatos. Yes, it's Chayev Chatos. This is an oil, and if you create it on Shabbos, Chayev Chatos. Amar Abaye, according to you, Tol Kuza Besichta. Let's say a person did something completely, according to the Ritvot, coming to show how innocent, and this is Kuza Besichta. Kuza Besichta means you took a jug and hung it on the hook of the wall, right? Some people have their pots and pans like that, or right, it's a cool thing. Yeah, you have like a hook. Sichta is actually like a peg, and you hang something on it, and it's connected to the house. Will you call that also bona d'oraisa? Obviously not. You're going too far. In other words, that's real chiv d'oraisa, meaning achinami de mechayev, meaning there the kuzda besichta is for sure okay. You're just placing something on a hook. Here, even if it's osir, it should only be also the rabbanon, because as I said before, that's an ol aray. You're not going to leave the sifter over there for life or for a long time. You take it away eventually or pretty soon. Why you chayev? El amar Abaye. Therefore, says Abaye, b'darabbanani shelo yaseh kederach shoyse b'chol. Enech nami. It's only so the rabbanon. Why? Rabbanon do not allow you to put that sieve on the thing on the barrel of wine, where eventually the wine will drip. So he should not do it the real Osir way as he does bechol with an oil keva. Here there's a huge Rashba, I mean huge, and I did not go through the entire Rashba, but I did see basically the in and out of it. The basics of it is that the question is what's about telling us? Rashi says uvda dechol, meaning that maybe Rashi is coming to tell us that it's really not a problem of oil even. It's not called an oil at all. It's just uvda dechol. In other words, uvda dechol means uvda dechol doesn't have to connect to any of the 39 melachos. You know that? Uvda dechol means you're doing something on Shabbos that's allowed. It's a melacha that's allowed. But you're doing it too professionally. You're doing it too well. Yeah, they say like in a big company, it can't be too good. You know, not to threaten the boss. Yeah, don't be too good on Shabbos when it comes to creation. Yeah, let's say you want to cut something that's allowed. Of course, within halachic parameters, you need to cut wood in Yom Tov. You're allowed to, but don't do it too well. Yeah, you want to sweep your entire house, as Rav Moshe Feinstein. Let's say you want to do a cleaning job, and you sweep each and every corner of your house, all the rooms, and it's a tiled floor. Uvda dechol. Don't do something super project that's big in quality and quantity. Don't start making big projects. Here too, It's too professional to do the meshameres like that. It's not because of oil, it's because of oil. That's one way. It's because of uvda dechol. The other opinion says no, it is uvda dechol. It is oil. Sorry. The fact that he places it on top of the chavis, and you are interested in that sifter being on top of something else. Oil is usually when you want it to be on top of something. You need the space between the awning, not the awning, between the surface and the floor. That's where all the wine goes. So therefore, there's a big back and forth in Rashba, but one of two reasons may be right, or maybe a combination of the two, that it's either Uvda Dechol is a general Isser, or this is a derivative of Bone, as you very well said. This is oil arai, which is an Isser of Boine Midrabanon. One of the two. In any event, don't do it at home. And that's what Chachamim believe, although it's the Rabbanon. Says Toyses, let's see Toyses inside. Elam Rabban Midrabanon. ואף gav דתה לקוזה בכיסתא, בסיכתא, אפילו יסוד דרבנן לקה. Tais is asking, beforehand, we compared the putting the meshameres, we compared it to hanging something on the wall. So what did you answer? It's still here to place the key or the small key on a hook on the connected to the wall is allowed, and this is not allowed. So you still have that, yeah, you still have that gap that the thing on the hook is allowed, and the mishameres is not allowed. So what did you gain? There's still a difference. Explain the difference to me. Answers Tosfos. He says, yeah, במילה דרבנן, he says יסוד. במילה דרבנן שייך שפיר לחלק. אבל אי במשמרת מדאורייתא also אין שייך לחלק. He's explaining this. Really, Tosfos does see some kind of similarity between hanging something on the wall, because the wall is really mechubar lakarka, like adding to the wall. There is some kind of potential similarity. Elamai, if the whole isser of this non-kavua uvda, the whole thing is only the rabbanon, as Tosfos says in Daf Chafei, rabbanon have the right to differentiate within their own gzeras when they're gozer or they're not gozer. They see the differences in psychology, human behavior. They can make the difference, and therefore they can say yes. To create the whole roof for the chovis, for Mishameres, is also the Rabbanon. To put the thing on the wall, on the hook, is not also the Rabbanon. Why? There's a logical difference. But if you say it's the Oraisa, then those rings will be Mechalet. If both would be equally author, the Oraisa doesn't go with just what you decided. You're not establishing the Oraisa. The Oraisa Hashem decided. If it's the Oraisa, if one would be also, the other would be also too. That's Tosfos. Ritva doesn't believe in that. Ritva says that the whole reason why we mention the thing, the hook that you hang something onto, is just an exaggeration. Meaning, of course, it's mutter to place something on a hook on Shabbos. It's not bona. Abai wanted to show Rav Yosef how kivyochol ridiculous is the svara mechitesi. How far do you go with your chumras? By the way, whenever you see the words ela me'ata, that's what it means. You see the previous always says elamata. Elamata always means how far do you go with your svara? Look what you're doing. Let's extrapolate what you say, and you see it does make sense. That's what Abai tells. Who Abai says this to his Rebbe, to Rav Yosef. Yep. Min kit Abai chumay mesnisa v'tani. Abai had a derech in the Gemara to always summarize, and collect and connect different pieces or different brises, different opinions, and basically collate them into one coherent group. And that's what Rabbi does right now. You may see all kinds of Mishnayos, brises floating all over the place, yeah? And Rabbi is now mesader them in a list. Rabbi is the organizer of the Gemara, yeah? We saw that not long ago. Yeah, it says about Kol Yisrael B'nai Melochim. We saw that. Kuf Kaf Ches Mud Aleph. Malket Abaye, Kumar Masnisa. Abai took the groups of the brises. Abai was grouping different brises to three different groups. The common denominator between all these brises are that they have to do with boine. He's going to tell us when it's the rabbanon, when it's the oraisa, and when it's completely allowed. Let's see. Let's go. Masnisa v'tani hagoid ve'amishameres kila v'kisegalin. Group number one consists of two kelim. I promise I'll explain them all. Bezos Hashem. We're going to talk about four items, four pieces of furniture / utensils, and those things you're not allowed to create them on Shabbos. If you did, Potter Velosur, the Isra is only the Rabbanon. What are they? A goid. Goid means as follows. Goid basically is a piece of leather which is spread over sticks, people who live in the desert or people who travel through the desert. Wherever they camp, they put some sticks in a circle. On top of that, tie they tie onto that a piece of leather that's not exactly straight, very similar to the meshameres, but it's one piece of skin of leather, yeah, and with like a sagging, area in the middle. That's where they put the wine, and there's a distance, a gap between the wine that's in that cavity and the floor. What's the idea? The wind, in the desert, it's very cold at night. The wind blows under the wine. That's important to know. I'm interested of having some air space gap between the wine on top and the bottom for the air to go to blow through and keep it cool and chill. That's the idea. If you do that on Shabbos, it's an all right. I'm not going to live underneath. Yeah, but you're happy with the space underneath. So that's you're not going to leave it there for long. That's why not completely cooked. It's not the Raisa. It's still also the Rabbanon. The second one, Mishameres. That's our good friend. We're not Mishameres, right? We have PhD on Mishameres. Mishameres is also the Rabbanon. Oilarai. Kila. Kila is basically like a canopy. It's what you have on baby's bed or fancy beds to keep away the mosquitoes. Yeah, that netting, that like canopy. So if you spread a canopy over a bed in a way that it's machlokes Rishonim, but Rashi says if the top, right, it's like a pyramid shape, right? It's like a triangle shaped on both sides, but kings have it. So if the top has a bit of a tefach on the very top, and from that tefach you have both sides coming down, that's enough of an oil. Tefach is a lachikli oil, and if you spread it with the tefach on top and sides, that's oil ara. It's ara. Tomorrow morning you're gonna get rid of it. But the ma'ase oil ara is doch and oil. And you're sleeping underneath, mosquito free. No need to spray. That's nice. So then what? Then what? Then in Chanami, it's oil ara. It's also Darbanon. What's the fourth one? Kisagalin. Kisagalin, Machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Rashi says Kisagalin is basically a modular chair that consists of different pieces, like you stick them together. Yeah, like the stuff you buy in IKEA, but it's a kind of thing that you do, and you build and then you disassemble, you assemble, disassemble every few days or so. But now there is no problem according to Rashi and Bone. Rashi doesn't think that there's a problem of Bone in Kalim whatsoever, but there is a chashash with the Rabbonon. Don't create that chair. Why? Because you may come to stick it professionally, and if you stick it in a professional, good way, you take that piece and you stick it very well, or with a screw or something. That already will be an issa of makeh bepatish, which according to Rashi does exist in Kalim. So don't kind of assemble that chair, which is meant to be on and off every few days, but is assembling separate pieces, because you may come to stick it too well. And if you stick it in a professional way, that would be a problem of makeh bepatish. So don't do that midrabanon. If you did, it's your potter from chatas. Second group is grouping. All these were different brises quoted by Abaye. He collected them together. Group number two, simple. It's not a group. It's a one-man show. Oil keva lo yasev mosachav chatas. Oil keva. You put a nice awning on Shabbos on your merpeset. Your merpeset has walls, I hope, yeah. And you put an awning on top. The Shal Tziyun says even without tying. And your wife is asking you how long will it be there, and you tell her it's going to be there until I don't know, very long time. Question is days, weeks, whatever. It will be there for a long time. Oil kev could be sodoraisa. Isodoraisa. Because it's kavua, it's a permanent thing. Group number three, aval, mita vekisat raskal ve'asla mutal entos lechatchila. That group has three items. A bed. According to Rashi, a bed is very simple. A bed means you have a bed that's just standing upright, and you put it down. You basically make it stay horizontal. Yeah, you kind of, drop it, boom, place it on the floor. One would say maybe that's ohel. Why? Because Lamaise, I'm now interested that the bed will be covering the space. Because maybe you put stuff under the bed, your shoes, your slippers, your I don't know what, your magazines, whatever you have under your bed. Yeah. So then what? Then the mita, don't say that's an oil. Why? You didn't build anything. You took the same item, you just changed its position. That's not called a problem of bone, not even with the rabbanon, that's allowed. Kisa traskal is basically, Rashi is marked to explain, in today's world it's very easy to understand, it's a beach chair, like a bleach chair, yeah? It's a chair that folds, it's a folding chair. As opposed to the previous kisa glalanisa, that is one piece. It's one piece that folds and unfolds. You're not really assembling pieces, yeah? You're unfolding the whole thing like a baby's buggy. A baby's buggy is allowed on Shabbos, yeah? It's really one piece. It's a whole story, but at the end of the day, just one piece. And what's the third one? Asla. What's an asla in Hebrew? Toilet. It's basically a mobile toilet. It's a toilet seat that you take with you. It's the same thing as the kiset askal with a hole in the middle for the toilet need. So mutal those you're allowed to spread and you're not really building. It's the same thing, in and out, just fold and unfold. That is so distant from the real thing, real bona. It's even allowed lechatchila. Very nice. Okay, nice. The end noise in the Shabbos. We don't have much time, but we'll do whatever we can. One, according to Chachamim, who argue on Obelezer, you're not allowed to be meshamer on Shabbos. Meaning what? Don't take that, bunch of sediments that have some wine in them and plunk them on the meshameres, on the strainer, in order for the wine to trickle down. Because why? Because it's either boirer or meraked. But it's also what? I assume it's also the Raisa, but I'm not sure. Ibailu shimer mai. What's aloha if he did shimu? Is it an iso doraisa? Maybe for whichever reason it's the rabbanon. Let's see. Because by the way, mind you, what did Rabbi Lezer say that it's allowed, right? Rav Lezer, it's completely okay. He doesn't believe it's borer because that wine you're going to drink pretty much, pretty soon after you did the shimu. So Chachamim who don't allow it, would they tell you it's also chayiv? It's a real Isodoraisa or not? Omar of Kana, Shimon chayiv chatos. Yes. If you did the shimu all the way, it's an Isodoraisa. Why? Because Chachamim say that even if only one condition of borer, a negative condition, was met, you have chatos. Yeah, that's halacha. Yeah, if you don't fulfill all three conditions of borer, you have to fulfill all three. If one is missing, you have chatas. Yeah.
Explain the three conditions. I mean, just
The three conditions of borer, it's always good to refresh our memories. Absolutely. That's actually a very good idea. The only three ways you're allowed to do borer, and Baruch Hashem, I'm zecher to learn this nowadays, mamish in yeshiva, in the beautiful Reishis yeshiva. So what do we say? The only way allowed to be borer on Shabbos is oichel bayad umiyad. You can only take the oichel, the good, out of the bed. Take the garinim from the klipa, whatever, the good tomatoes out of the bad ones, only with your hand or a fork, not with a sieve, which is what's happening now. Not with a sieve or any professional kli, and also it has to be for immediate use. Immediate doesn't mean right away. It can be even for the next meal. The last thing you do before the next meal.
so if you hit 2 out of 3 and you're missing one, you're fine.
Yes, the Chiddush mentioned before Rambam, and as far as I understand, and pretty much as far as I understood from the Rishonim, and we started a little bit of Mishnah Berurah, yeah, if you miss one of the Mechayev Chatas, apparently according to Blazer, no, that's the idea. But according to Halacha, if you're missing one, it's pretty much Chayev Chatas already. Yeah. So now Shimon Chayev Chatas, here you are. Look, you use a sieve. It's very nice, good, bed, but you're using a sieve, dead duck. You're Chayev Chatas. Maskif lo Rav Sheshes, mi kamided rabon Chayev Chatas for Bezer Shari lechatchila. Isn't it too much of an extreme machlokes? Is it possible that Rabbanon will say you chayiv chatos and Rabbi would allow it to begin with? Yeah, it's too extreme. We always know that Shabbos is about 3 levels: chayiv, poter veloser, and mutter. And here, such an extreme machlokes tanoim, they're so far apart in their opinions. Yeah, one of them says it's a chiyuv chatos. That's chachomim. Rabbi allows it lechatchila. So maybe you're too extreme. Maybe chachomim mean it's also the Rabbanon. Rabbi Lezer said Tzara. They're a little bit closer in their opinions. Cliffhanger. We gotta go now. Oh, how will you sleep at night? I don't know. Hatzlacha Rocha. Thank you to all of you. The Americans who watch us, they're not. It's lunchtime, right? Hatzlacha, Kol Tuv. Thank you. Have a good night.